And good morning, everybody. It is once again a chat about leadership. Today, I welcome one of our own Dutch mentor coaches. He is India-based, Ashok Rockland. Good morning. I guess it is evening for you. Welcome to our chat this morning, where we're going to cover really two questions like we do in many of our talks, because that's where deep learning comes from, by sharing our stories. So our first question is really, Ashok, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing today, but even more important, talk a little bit about your journey to where you are, how you have arrived to where you are today, where you feel like you can share your experiences with our clients.
Right. So thanks, Walter, for this discussion and for allowing me to be part of the very aggressive and very dynamic team for the on leadership. I think there are many platforms globally, but I think this seems to be more practical. I will start slightly before my journey and my background. We as a family, we are migrant. When India-Pakistan division happened in 1947, my grandparents migrated from Pakistan. We used to be in Pakistan, part of Punjab, and we have to migrate. And when you move as a refugee, you leave everything there only. So when we came, my forefather came to India. We were absolutely bankrupt, nothing. So my father, we started from a very humble financial background. My father has to start his job at the 21 year only, because there was nothing in house, and you were living in camp as a refugee. So my all education is part of the eastern part of the India, where like Bihar is a state where I got all education with my father. He was working in railways, and we are traveling as a family with him. Then my dream was to be an armed forces person, and I was almost selected as a commanding officer for one of the elite armed forces in India called Border Security Force. But because of a road accident in which I got in my left area, my ribs were broken, my collarbone broken, my shoulder gone, so I was medically unfit. So I have to start my career as a medical representative. The sales rep, the first pillar of the journey when you start. So I started my career from there as a medical rep. I spent in 3.5 to 4 years as a medical rep, and then I got the first position as a leadership, that is called area manager, where you lead a team of 5-7 people. So I started my journey in 1987. So I think by 1990 I got a first break as an area manager, which in Indian context quite early, because normally it would take 7 to 8 years to become the leader. So it was the first break when I become the area manager, where you say, you have to get job done in place of doing yourself. It was the first challenge and most difficult challenge, because you tend to do, the minute you see you're working with somebody who is your team member and he's not able to do something, you tend to do yourself, because you have done that job already. And that, to stop yourself from doing that and to ensure that the person who is supposed to do, he do, so the role should be very clear, who will do what role, was the most challenging part of my entire career. Because first, when you are a very aggressive kind of person, which I was at that age, you always say, oh, this man is doing a mistake, let me correct now only. And in front of customer, you start correcting his mistake. And by doing that, you indirectly indicate that he is a fool. He is not a good guy. He don't know his job. So ultimately, you demean your own team member without knowing. So it took almost 4 to 5 months for me to understand, till somebody working on my team was leaving the company, and in exit interview told me why he is leaving. He said, I am leaving because of you, because the way you behave in front of customer is very demeaning, and that frustrated me a lot. And then I realized that there's something wrong, and I have to change that. So after that, I think I joined a company which is the first company and last company I work in my career. We actually work on people development. The company is Eli Lilly, US-based multinational, where I spent almost 11 years. I started as an area manager, and I grown to 5 level up. And that company actually changed the whole perspective, because the way they work on people development is really very meaningful. I don't know what is happening now, but that time, so that company changed the whole perspective of what kind of leadership need to be there, why it is important to build a team, why it is important to ensure that you have many more leaders like you or better than you, in fact, then why it is important. And that journey changed my whole thought process. And after that, wherever I went, whether in hospital industry or in pharma industry, I applied that learning availably, and it helped me a lot. So in 33 years, there are many ups and downs, and I have learned in my life that when you feel confident that this thing you will achieve, God give a signal to you that don't be overconfident.
Yeah.
So many time, when you are in sales and you feel you are a champion of sales, you overzealous. You feel that, oh, no problem, I will do that. So it happened really also 2-3 times when I committed very high number and I had to rub my nose on ground very badly. Like for example, when I become a second line manager in Lilly, regional manager, where I had covering 3 states and almost 50 people reporting to me through different hierarchy. And the region I was given was not doing very well before my taking over. So I overcommitted the Q1 when I joined only with the confidence that no problem. My past record is that I will do it. But I forget that understanding that, I have joined a new team, which may be working in the same organization, but they had different boss earlier. So their working style is very different, because that is also one learning I had that, we always say, what is the culture of organization? Yes, that is one of the basic, but also depending the team respond and work depending on the culture of their bosses.
Yeah.
It is not always true that if an organization have 450 people working in there, more than 500 like Lilly, they all will work or think in same manner. Because it all depends what kind of background they had, number one. Number two, what kind of reporting they had to whom, what their past experience is, and then depending on that. So I committed a number to my director and I miserably failed. I achieved almost 40%. So that was second learning of my career, where I say that you must check the ground reality every time when you start a new role. Don't feel that you are working in a company for more than 4 years, 5 years, and people know you, you know them, so you can commit depending on your style. So the second learning was that yes, it is important to have your style, but you can't always perform only basis your style. You have to understand your team style, and then you have to adopt in a manner where it matches the organization interest and it matches the ethical philosophy. But it may not be immediate. Because, for example, the team which was reporting to me, there was working for 5 years with different boss who was a failure, who failed. So their thought process was like that.
Mhm.
So I took over. I thought I will give a lecture in a meeting and I will work some strategy and it will work. But it was not immediate. So that learning was very important learning, and that actual learning made me more logical, more thoughtful, and more logical. So
Yeah,
after that, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, just wanted to say, it's really interesting, right? So you are a continent away, or more, but the problems are the same and the opportunities are the same, right? And that's one thing, is because we work with human beings, and people learn to lead with ego instead of working with confident humility, and people follow that. And like you said, listen, a company might have a culture, but it is that subculture in the department or in the division as you
Absolutely.
step in that you have to work with. But it really starts what you started with. Is self-awareness, right? Is that you understanding that you cannot just give one lecture and fix the problems. To
Absolutely.
change the culture takes time, and it starts with you. And I think that is the experience that you have, that you've gained over your 30 years of working hard in different countries and different cultures and different subcultures, that really can be a benefit to your clientele, that they need to understand. Doing it is not leading, right? Transitioning from doing to leading is where the biggest gap is, but also the greatest opportunity, because when you learn to lead people and manage process in the culture that you have and develop that from the bottom up, is where you're going to get these tangible results that will last a lifetime.
So after that, in that same region, I was there for 3 years. We promoted 14 people from there to next level. We were always top region in the country, because once you learn your basic and you start working on that, then I have seen that things fall in place. So if you have patience, if you have perseverance, and you ensure, so that learning helped me a lot. And that's how, when I changed my path from the pharma industry to hospital industry, that learning gave a lot of confidence to me that ultimately I am dealing with human being.
Yeah.
And human beings are human beings. If you behave like a good human being, mostly people respond to you in a good way.
Yeah.
So
So go ahead.
so my most important learning for leadership was that if you want to be a good leader, first become a good human being.
100% correct. It starts with deep self-awareness.
Yes.
Multiply that times your commitment of self-development before you can even go on to solving complex problems or work with a larger team. And I think that, what we are trying to do is that, and you told that story well. There's nothing that we can do overnight, right? There's no workshop, no conference, no book that can tell you, you read this, go to that, listen to this, and now you are going to be an effective leader. You and I both know and understand, and that's what we in our program we're going to be offering to our clients is that if you sign up with us for 6 months and you not only follow the theory behind the scenes and watch the videos as building blocks to self-development and self-awareness and problem solving and establishing this operational rhythm, it is the weekly meetings with you in confidence for 30 minutes focused time to talk about current problems, real-time scenarios, and how to learn to lead people and manage process. That's where the magic takes place. So that comes down to my second question that we want to cover is that, what is your coaching or mentoring philosophy, and what is the message that you want to send to your potential clientele who can find you obviously on our website, and we will do some marketing out to get people to see what it is that you offer. What is the takeaway that they can from you on how you will lead them, manage them, work with them, etc.?
Walter, before I go in that, I want to confess one thing. That one is that whatsoever I learned, I had not learned through books. I don't read many books. I'm sorry, but I learn from what I see my leader working, what I see myself when I commit mistake, when I achieve something. I always ask myself why it happened. Even if it happened good, I don't allow it to forget. Bad or good, I always question myself what I did due to which this happened, bad or good. So when I was reading your mail and I was thinking about that day that, so I don't know, my understanding is if I look at leadership style, as I told you just now, I think the most important thing is that, first of all, my strong belief is that whosoever doing a job, he or she want to excel there. Nobody want to do a job. For example, if I'm talking to you and I want to become one of the coach or all that, I want to excel there. Nobody want to be a failure in any job, whether it is a student studying in class, or a manager doing a team meeting, or doctor doing a surgery. Nobody want to fail. So over time, my first learning was that whosoever working with me, whatsoever their past performance may be, but they want to successful. They may be a failure, he may be a failure, and I need to have an understanding of the reason of success or failure of all my team members. If somebody is doing good, if somebody is doing bad. So I think first understanding is be a human being with very open communication, where people trust you as a human being and they talk to you openly. Because a lot of things I have seen can be resolved without any strategy, just by communication. If people sit with you on a table and discuss a topic, you can have a resolution there only without going to any book or any strategy. But if the people keep their thing secret with them, they don't openly talk to you, you may be very expert in making a strategy or a very strong winner in the past, but you fail. So I think my true learning which I want to pass on is that be a good human being. So respect everyone whom you are dealing with, whether he is your customer or is not your customer. If a human being you're facing, respect him. And number two, learn and empower them also. As a leader, you may tell something, but then the whole process need to be complete. If you're telling something, you need to have a process to see what I told the person, how he's doing. So I always say that planning is not complete till it is planned, implemented, reviewed, and replanned. Because when you review, you find that what action plan you're given to the person that have some gap also. And that gap need to be corrected. Most of leaders, they fail, although they are very expert in it, but because they plan and mostly they leave it on team. I am a GM, I am the HOD, I made a planning, now you go and implement. That's the first mistake. At least you need to have some checkpoint to see what you plan in the room, in the boardroom, in your own room, how it is being implemented, and when it is being implemented, how it is working. So I think the checkpoint on implementation and a proper review process and then reworking on that. That is the, if you want to develop a leader, then you have to, I think first thing need to be taught is that, boss, as a boss, your job is not to plan only. Your job to ensure results. And that can only happen if the cycle of planning is complete. We say plan, implement, review, rework, review, rework. And that is non-stoppable. And number two is that never feel you know everything. Walter, I have seen that a person who joined industry 6 months back, sometime he teach you something which you don't know. So I think as a leader, we need to keep our eyes and ear open without any ego, be a good human being, and work as a team, as a family. If your team, I have seen, sir, if your team feel they are working for organization, they work only 40%. If they feel they are working for themselves, by doing this, it'll help them to grow and make their career and be a performer, they give 100%. And that is the job first, the leader only, is that to ensure that the person own his responsibility and his JD as his own, not as organizations. The minute you are able to pass on that basket to his head, then he find out a lot of solution, because he is the one who is on the ground, he is the one who is actually handling the case, he knows the problem and he can find solution better than you. Because when I was working as a frontliner, I'm giving example only, it was 15 years back, 20 years back, things have changed, dynamic. Today, what a customer expect, what a patient expects from a doctor was not 15 years back. I am talking about India now, after COVID. Now, when a patient come in hospital, he is so aware that when doctor talk to him and he go out and check that what disease I have, what doctor prescribe. Now, this knowledge may be harmful or something, but now, right now, the third learning of leadership is that don't be rigid. You should be flexible in your approach depending on situation, what we call situational leadership. So if you see a person sitting in front of you is a patient, but he is an aware patient, a person sitting in front of you is a patient, but he is not aware patient, you have to accordingly customize your communication. So as a leader, you communicate as per your customer's requirement. And when I say customer, I say internal customer also, which is people reporting to me, and external customer also, which is customer. So if that understanding you have that, yes, I don't know everything, number one. Number two, every human being want to excel in his job. And number three, every human being need to understood first before we communicate the. So identify the problem and solution. And problem is not only disease, for example, doctor. Problem also is what is the patient background, what is financial condition, what kind of support system he has at his home, all those things. And also problem is the place where you're working, what kind of environment they give to a patient. Because I have seen, Walter, in my career that a very good doctor fail because support team. The customer care team, the OT team, the ward management is so poor. Patients say, doctor, you are very good. But once you leave me, after that, I feel I am lost. So the whole, if anybody want to be a good leader, he had to understand and manage the whole environment. He can't only manage himself or his team. The whole environment, the team, and what impact the team working style. Because, for example, I was working in Kenya as a CEO in hospital. Now, I may meet HOD once in a week, once in 10 days. But for all 7 days, he is meeting 100 more people who also have influence on his brain. So I may talk to him and he say, yes, you're right, sir, I will do the same way. But the minute I leave my chamber, he meets 4 more people and he changes thought. Till a time come when your team member understand you 100% and buy your thought 100%, and then they say, now this is the way I need to work, come what may. Till that time, you need to have the eagle's eye control on your people to ensure that. So it is not spying. It is what we call it. It is a tracking tool, a dashboard, what you call it, to ensure that what we discuss and what is being implemented is same on track. So I don't know. I did same as a leader, and mostly it worked.
So I think that what you laid out in your terms, in your experience, is exactly what what the background in the background program is, the Future Leadership Powers program is about, right? Is that learning always to ask why do we do things, or why do things happen, And then it's about, what is my current behavior versus my desired behavior as a leader doing
Yes.
to leading. Then it is learning about the responsibilities of a leader, right? Love the people that you lead through context, explain why, get them to buy into it, make sure that you provide a safe environment, and make sure they can work with great focus, learning how to motivate people, how to apply that PDCA cycle and the continuous process improvement so we have sustainable results, and then to establish that operational rhythm. So, Ashok, thank you very much for spending some time with me this morning. It was really good, and I think that your clients will get certainly a better insight of what it is that you have to offer in the India market itself. And of course, we look forward to continuing our conversation.